Hey yo, it's time for the playoffs, we the top of the West. We got the home field advantage, time to play at our best. I'm out at Carson, California, kill a piece on the set. Like Joe Belich, the pistolero, put a hole in the net. Yo got bonito when I dribble like I'm Gabriel Peck. Call me Yamane, got defenders out here breaking their neck. And put a curler past the keeper like I'm Pooch on the left. I'm bringing the skill like paint seal, counter attack. I'll put your sheet on next to Garces to defend in the back. And we serio, que golazo, give them props on the track. I got a vision like I'm Royce when he's giving a pass. Marky Delgado is my boy, helping out where he can. Put up a typho at the park, show the love that we have. Diego Fagundes on the left when we get to the half. Let's make some changes, let Gaston create a play and retract. When in the game we have possession, but we shouldn't relax. Mauricio Cuevas now and never, time to bring up the stats. We gotta show them what we're made of, take a look at the past. The champion's back, the race to save the price that we have. We ain't stopping till we have another cup in our hand. What? Let's go Galaxy, let's go Galaxy. Yeah, vamos Galaxy, let's go Galaxy, let's go Galaxy, yeah, vamos Galaxy, la cuna galaxiana, es la voz de LA.
Hello, hola, and buenas, and welcome back to another episode of La Cuna Galaxiana. Thank you so much for being with us. This podcast is always made with love for all you LA Galaxy fans, wherever you may be. Thank you so much for all you Lacuna Galaxians coming back and hanging out with us and hanging in chat. We do appreciate it, and we do love you for it. If this is your first time with us, thank you so much. Hopefully you like something that you hear tonight. And, man, we are excited because it's finally here. After a long layoff, we will finally get to preview the LA Galaxy's upcoming playoff conference semifinal home match on Sunday, November 24th against Minnesota United. Here to help give us an inside look into Minnesota United is MNUFC Copywriter Kyle Hayward. We'll take a look at what traps the Loons might have in store for LA, how they can hurt the Galaxy, and if a very potent offense can breach a solid defense. Before we get to Kyle, we'll go ahead and kick it off like we always do with some shout-outs and announcements. But let me introduce myself. I am one of your co-hosts, Rob Halon. You can find my written work at Extra Time Talk, and you can find me online at El Escudero de LA on pretty much everything, whether that's X, whether that's Blue Sky, Instagram. That's where you can find me, guys. And you guys can find me there, and you guys can also find this pod at youtube.com/@Lacuna Galaxiana. And, of course, I'm here, so that means my co-host, El Yerno Guapo y El Gitano Perdido, Hernanda Quirana, está sentado al lado mío, como siempre. Él es mi amigo fiel. So that's right, he's here. Papa, how you feeling a couple days away from game day? And Gary C says, GCAM reunited and it feels so good. Tell us, how you feeling?
Oh, man, por fin llegamos en este punto, en este momento, papá. El fútbol de Los Angeles Galaxy ya viene muy pronto, right? We only got a couple more sleeps. I'll tell you what, though, I am getting a little more nervous as the days come up. Like doing my research for this, like kind of like, looking at the opposition, reading a lot of articles, right? There's some great stuff out there. Of course, we'll have a gentleman on that wrote a great article for the club as well that we
a lot of them actually
facing
scouting reports and stuff.
And I think there's a lot of interesting sort of points of view and thoughts coming into this game. So we'll kind of delve into all those, but the more I hear the chatter, you know how it is, and as fans, we get, as humans, we get a little nervous. So I'm getting a little more nervous, but I think the press conferences, they were good today. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. I think I heard some positive, some good things that I wanted to hear from this team. And we'll just see, man. The boys just got to perform. That's it. If we perform, we should win this game. Of course, we'll get to predictions and all that good stuff later. But yeah, man. Shall we get to little housekeeping before we turn it over to the shoutouts and announcements? Because I know we got a big game to cover. So maybe the quicker we get there, the better. No?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, we do have a big game. Yeah, no. So we'll just get right into it. I mean, I know, Ananda, you'll probably want to do a couple pieces of housekeeping, but as for me, I want to thank chat once again for going ahead and subscribing to this chat, to this channel, and watching this humble little podcast. People come up to us and ask us like, hey, how can we help out? You guys are doing it by subscribing, by liking, and you guys are also being nice enough to donate to us at buymeacoffee.com/Lacuna Galaxiana. And you guys make it possible, man, to really try to up the game on this pod. I mean, I've said it a couple times before, like our commitment to you guys is every little help that we get. We're going to reinvest this back into the pod and try to make this pod better for you, get better guests, and, try to up the game every single which way we can, just like the Galaxy did this year. We invite you to check out the back catalog. Jay Lanier was on the other day. We had an exclusive with Jay Lanier in which he introduced Bubs to us, which was amazing. And we've had one guy named Will Kuntz, aka the chef, and the guy who's put all this together. Check out the back catalog is basically what I'm saying. As well as check out Ananda and El Profe Alex Reese, friend of the show. They just did their latest Los Galácticos. So get out there, check that out. And this is the fourth one. So if you guys want to know what Vandy Ball is and how the Galaxy are going to play, this is where it is. Check it out right here. Ananda, do you have anything on the housekeeping side that you want to take care of? And then I'll get back into announcements.
I mean, you did half of it for me, so I'll just break into the other half. So, of course, guys, you can always follow, block me, or stalk me at Ananda Galaxiana on all the socials. So both of our handles are right there, Rob's and myself. So go ahead and follow us there. You can even stalk us if you want. Like, that's all good. Of course, all of our socials at Lacuna Galaxiana is the tag. Pretty simple tag there. And Roberto, como siempre, antes de olvidarme, buenos días, tardes o noches y bienvenidos a otro capítulo de Lacuna Galaxiana. Por todo que está en chat, por todo que está escuchando este podcast in playback, welcome again. And just like Rob said, if you like what you're listening to, go ahead and hit that subscribe, guys. It would mean the world to us. Dale.
I'm jealous of the heads that are listening to this on playback like tomorrow or like 2 days later, which means they only have like a couple of hours to go before the Galaxy play. So, I mean, you guys are lucky out there in the multiverse in the future. But anyway, getting into some shout outs here in announcements from across the league. NYCFC, they finally have a stadium name. I mean, first, it's big that they're going to have their own stadium. They're not going to be playing at Yankee Stadium anymore. But they have a new stadium, and that stadium has a new name. Etihad Park is set to debut in 2027. Congratulations to NYCFC and one of the remaining teams left there on the East. Can't wait to visit that park, Ananda. It looks pretty epic. The next blue, white, and gold pop-up is on Sunday, December 15th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Absolution Brewing. Guys, if you want to go blow your wallets on some really, really awesome merch and some really amazing food, this is the place to do it. As usual, you guys have your supporter groups out there. You have 1-2 Threads out there who always puts on this amazing event. But I'm sure that as the day gets closer, we'll have more and more vendors on there. So go ahead and check out that event. And I know I'll be out there. Come find me, and we'll hook you up with some stickers, and we'll just shoot the ish about the Galaxy.
And it'd be the dream if it would be 8 days after we win MLS Cup. That would be amazing to celebrate with y'all.
Oh,
but
man.
Only one can dream.
It'll be epic. Oh, I mean, but that's how everything starts. Dare to dream, right?
That's right.
So that's how everything starts, indeed, because the man kicking off how everything will start on Sunday is Dylan Francis, the world-renowned DJ and producer, will perform pregame and halftime. So I know that everybody in chat and I know that all the G's out there are going to be full force, and Dylan Francis is going to be the man moving you. So get there early so you guys can go ahead and check out his set. Speaking of getting there early, there's going to be tailgates all over the place. Of course, you guys will have ACB out there doing their thing. You guys will have Outlaws out there doing their thing. We're going to have Lars's annual pancakes and whiskey starting at 11 a.m. Over there in their tailgate. And the IEG shout out Big Heck and his group in lot 13. That starts at 11:30. Point being, guys, is there's going to be tons of people out there in the Galaxy community, and they're going to be having a good time. So get there early, hang out with your Galaxy community, and make some memories. Taking it back across the East, Kevin Denke signed officially for FC Cincinnati. This is the new league record fee of $16.2 million, eclipsing the former fee of $16 million. Atlanta United played for Thiago Almada. 16.2 million was enough to get that signature over the line for the Togo International. The 23-year-old for Cercle Bruges, he was the Golden Boot winner last year in the Belgian Pro League with 27 goals. This guy's a goal machine right now, Ananda. 34 goals over the last 2 seasons, 53 goals since 2021 in January. Over the last 2 seasons, only Harry Kane, Victor Gyökeres, Erling Haaland, and Luc de Jong have scored more in Europe. So since he's getting a real one right here, a real good goal scorer, he describes himself as a simple guy who just likes to score goals, and others describe him as having elite physicality, finishing ability, and work ethic. FC Cincinnati putting the league on notice. Hey, we're knocked out, but we're not resting on our laurels, and we're going to retool and go back at it next year. So congratulations to Cincy for getting that signing over the line. Wilfried Nancy, congratulations to him for winning Coach of the Year. He set the club record in points this year with 66, goals scored with 72, and record wins for that club with 19. He had the league best point differential and with plus 32, and he took Columbus to the league's cup championship and a trip to the CONCACAF Champions League final as well. Congratulations to Wilfried Nancy for winning that award. I personally still think that Greg Vanney should have won this award, but that's me. I'm just an advocate for giving that man his flowers for the work he's done. But congratulations to Wilfried Nancy. If anybody was going to win it, I'm glad out of those 3 that were left that Wilfried Nancy is the one to do it. Eric Quill, new FC Dallas head coach, former New Mexico United boss, is now the man in charge in Frisco, Texas. Quill served as the head coach of North Texas SC from 2019 to 2021. So he's going back to his roots of sorts. He did play for the Dallas Burn for a couple of games in his playing career. He guided that North Texas team to the inaugural USL League One championship in 2019 and earned Coach of the Year honors the same year for his work there. The 46-year-old Quill will be the 9th full-time head coach in franchise history. And as one coach gets hired, one leaves, Ananda. Tata Martino. We spoke to him. We spoke about him, rather, with MLS Moves, a.k.a. Will, on one of our previous pods. And we said that it might be surprising if he sticks around for next year. Well, he is, in fact, not sticking around for next year. He, depending on, if you believe tall tales, resigned. He according to Tommy Bogert, who dropped the stash bomb, left Inter Miami for personal reasons. This is after, of course, a season in which they won the Supporters Shield, set the MLS record with 74 points, scored 79 goals, had the most assists in the league with 65, and the best away record. What a difference a year makes. We all say that all the time. What a difference a month makes, Ananda. How quickly things can change in a month. October 19th, that's when Inter Miami set that record with 74 points, and by November 19th, 1 month later, Tata Martino is out at Inter Miami. Early favorites are Xavi. Another one of the early favorites is Javier Mascherano. It remains to be seen who it actually will be. Juan Mata is an owner at San Diego, Ananda. This one is awesome because I always really, really liked Juan Mata as a player. One of the nicest guys in football I've heard. And today he announced he's a partner, excuse me, and the newest owner at San Diego FC. He's the first active player to be a part owner of a club in the league history, and only the second ever after David Beckham. I believe he's the first ever player that's active in world football to be an owner at the same time. So I don't know what that means for San Diego FC, if Juan Mata will line up for them or play any games for them at all. But just his presence around seems to bode well for that club. Like I said, Juan Mata is widely recognized as being one of the nice guys in soccer. So congratulations to San Diego FC and Juan Mata. Guys, the annual LA Galaxy Foundation Golf Tournament was announced. That'll be going down on Friday, February 7th, 2025 at the Firecliff Golf Course at Desert Willow Golf Resort in Palm Desert, California. If you sign up for this, you'll have the opportunity to play with Galaxy stars Marco Royce, Ricky Puig, Joseph Painso, and Gabriel Pecchi. And then, of course, if you do go to this, not only do you get to play with those stars, but you get breakfast, lunch, a hosted bar, on-course food, beverage stations. And then after the tournament itself, there's a cocktail reception with an opportunity to participate in a silent raffle and mingle with Galaxy players. Of course, Scott W in chat says expensive. Damn right it is, because it's for charity. All
Right.
proceeds will benefit the LA Galaxy Foundation. And last year, they raised close to $150,000 for access to youth sports, health, and wellness resources and community inclusion. Scott, it's not my kind of event because I don't really play. Like Jalen said last show, that's not really his tax bracket. This isn't my tax bracket, but yeah, at least we know that it's for charity and it's for a good cause. So if you are in that tax bracket, spaces are available on a first come first serve basis. Go ahead and check out lagalaxy.com/community/golf. And I mean, guys, let's be honest. Everybody knows that hashtag Rich Galaxy fans. So I know a couple of y'all are going to be out there.
Rob, last thing, am I right to assume that since it's February 7th, that's going to be around when the CVI is going to be this year?
I'm so glad you brought that up because yes, this golf tournament usually takes place the week of the CVI, or around that time. So, placing that right around the timeline, I'm expecting the CVI to maybe be the first and second week of February, or the last week of January, first week of February, but most likely first and second week of February, depending on, or because of like the spacing with MLS Cup and everything like that. But yeah, so we're starting to get our first couple of clues about the CVI. So guys, look out for that. Go ahead, and you might not want to spend your money on the golf tournament because you might want to spend your money on going to see the Galaxy play with potentially some new players at the CVI. So anyway, but guys, we did promise you that we did have a Minnesota United preview today, and apologies to you guys for leaving it late. We didn't announce our guest to you guys, and kind of feel like I did you guys a disservice, but he's a really good one. So now I feel kind of like they'll get over it because he's a really good guest. Please welcome to the show, copywriter for Minnesota United, Kyle Hayward. Thank you so very much, Kyle, for coming on and joining us. We do appreciate it. How's everything?
It's good. Thanks for having me. It's late night for me, but I'll do my best.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I mean,
thanks so much.
You're out there, time difference. If you fall asleep, we'll go ahead and just yell into the microphone, and hopefully we can rouse you a little bit.
Yeah, just wake me up. I'll get right back into it.
Sounds good.
Tell a couple good jokes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. We'll go ahead and throw the death metal on, tell some jokes. We'll get you up for sure. And then obviously we're going to be talking about playoff soccer, so that should get you up plenty, right?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, welcome to the show. Before we go into it at all, please go ahead and let the folks know where they can find you on the socials if they want to stay up on the Minnesota United coverage or anything else that you're doing, really.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at KJ Hayward. I write for the website for Minnesota United. So if you want to take a break from the Galaxy stuff, you can come on over, check out what we got going on over there. Find me on Substack, Kyle Hayward. That's all me.
Right on, man. And I was reading articles today and chat. Get out there and read some of this stuff. I mean, the playoff soccer is just a couple of days away now again. And Kyle wrote a couple really good pieces previewing this match, and that's exactly why we wanted him to come on and hang out with us. Kyle, what exactly does a copywriter for an MLS team do?
So it's a combo of like a beat reporter / ticket salesman. I send you all those emails that try to get you buy tickets, newsletter each week for fans and stuff like that. Try to tell the story of the club, basically.
So you have like an intimate knowledge of kind of like the feeling like on boots, like on the ground, right? Like the zeitgeist out there and how everybody is feeling about this playoff match coming all around. I'll let you know that around here in Los Angeles, and we even spoke about this on the last pod, the feeling is overwhelmingly positive from Galaxy fans. I mean, they feel something as special is in the air. But what's the feeling like in Minnesota? I mean, Minnesota hasn't been playing bad ball, so I mean, everybody's saying that that Minnesota's the underdog. But are you guys smelling upset?
There's not a feeling of being the underdog right now. I think I think it's just 2 goals that we've allowed in the last 7 games. It feels like kind of a perfect storm of immovable object and an unstoppable force kind of meeting in this one. And it's pretty good vibes all around, which for Minnesota sports is usually a curse, but we're hoping that not this time.
Well, we did hear that there will be a sizable contingent, about 275 to 300 Minnesota traveling fans that are going to be coming to Los Angeles. I was checking out Minnesota's form over the year. The road record for Minnesota is actually better than their record at home. So is going on the road for this one actually better for Minnesota at this point?
Yeah, honestly, the way that they play on the road kind of suits what Coach Ramsey wants the guys to do. They're very patient, but when they get the ball, very purposeful. And I think it's easier to be patient when you're on the road, right? When you don't have the home crowd urging you to go forward faster and faster. And they've really grown into that road warrior role. It's been really interesting to watch. Especially even at RSL in the first round, RSL came out firing and they just weathered the storm. And I think that's what they're hoping to start to do there in LA this week.
Rob, I think it's interesting that Kyle just used the word patient. I heard that in Vanny's press conference today, but I will remind me if I don't bring it up. I will park that for later. But
I will.
It's interesting the sort of idea. This idea of patience is different to Ramsey and his team versus Vanny and our team. We'll go back to that. But I think that's an interesting. I wanted to make a mental note of that for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. We'll go back because you're right. Both teams have to be patient, but in different ways. And
right.
We'll see what that means to each team. But let's go ahead and look at how each team got here. Of course, the Galaxy blitzed Colorado in round 1. They earned a 5-0 shutout win at home at the Digs on October 26th, and then they followed up with a 4-1 win in Colorado in Game 2 to sweep that series. Kyle, I want to hear from you in your own words. Take us through that first round for you guys. I mean, all I got to say is big Dayne St. Clair, man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Dayne St. Clair had massive performance back to back there. It maybe wasn't the most exciting game to watch from a, scoring standpoint, either one. I think it was just, we drew them 3 times this year. And it just kind of, frustrating matchups. Everything kind of was a chess match, and you could tell it was going to go down late. It was going to be a late winner. It was going to be a shootout. And I don't know how he does it. We keep asking him how he does it, and he's not going to give us the secrets, I guess. But Dayne, he just comes up big.
And an informed keeper is absolutely dangerous. I mean, really an informed keeper, and then an informed club like Minnesota is dangerous. If you mentioned that this one went to 2 shutouts, right? So the resiliency for me, I watched both these legs, and you said that maybe it wasn't the prettiest soccer, but this is playoff soccer. This is how it gets done, right? I mean, at this point of the year, you got to be pragmatic. I mean, look, we're gonna take it off the pitch really quick and go onto the diamond. I mean, Dodgers won the World Series with in one of these games by throwing every reliever they had out there, and it was ugly. It sure wasn't a 9-inning perfect game from one of your aces, but they got the job done. So, this team got the job done however they could in round 1. Do you have a one-word reaction for Minnesota's performance in this first round?
I'm going to say resilient.
Dale, I like it. Yeah, I'll back that up. And like I said, I mean, this is like swagger right now that these guys are carrying, because really people aren't really given, or at least on the West Coast, that I feel like aren't really giving them a shot. So it's like, hey, what do we have to lose, right? And I think really in that first round, they were the underdog as well against RSL, and then Minnesota came out and showed them what was real hood, right? So who was a difference maker in that first round?
Aside from Dayne, I'd say It was a collective for me. I liked the way that the midfield pivot, Will Trapp and Hassani Dotson, how they were working together. In the 5-2-3 that we've been kind of playing, I tend to see more, 3-man midfields. They're packing the midfield a bit more, but they made two men feel like 4, and they were just covering ground in ways that, it's not always going to show up on the stat sheet, but they were just controlling the middle in ways that we needed to.
Ananda, you had something, yeah?
Oh no, I was gonna say back to I kind of lost my thought a little bit, but back to your earlier point around nobody's giving them a shot. Oh, there you go. Well, I think the Minnesota admin took fair note of that as well, Rob. I don't know if you saw the last couple tweets.
I like
recently.
it.
Pretty cheeky. I'll give an A for effort for sure. But yeah, no one is giving him the chance. And you know what? It's funny because we've seen a version of this in our team. Sorry to kind of sidetrack the conversation, but with Ricky and him always pulling up receipts, right? You know how Ricky loves to pull up receipts. And so it's interesting that there's kind of that level of, psychological mental play that, I'm pretty sure they're just using it as a motivation engine, which again, A for effort, like I said. But yeah, no one's giving him a shot.
We have a comment here in chat. Stephen Moss says, being a Korean Galaxy fan is conflicting. I'm worried about saying Ben Lee balling out against the Galaxy. Yeah, that's those are interesting heart battles, man, because the Galaxy plays Vancouver and I'm like, Pedro Vite, I love you, you're Ecuadorian, but I don't want you to play well today, man. But let's go ahead and look at this match a little bit closer head to head. This would be the 17th time these teams would face each other. The Galaxy leads the all-time series 8-3-5. And they hold a 7-3-5 record in league play. These teams have played each other in the playoffs before. LA won that one, so they have a 1-0 record. That was a 2-1 win over Minnesota at Allianz Field in 2019. They've played twice this year. The first meeting was a 2-2 draw at Allianz Field on May 15th, and the second was a very, very late victory, 2-1 at the Digs on July 7th. In 7 all-time home matches played against the Loons, the Galaxy does hold the advantage 4-1 and 2. And honestly, the fact that they're playing at home is a big boon for them because in 18 home matches played at the Digs, they're obviously undefeated. They're 14-0-4, but they scored 49 goals. 25 goals against, so they've held a better defensive record there. 12 consecutive games won at the Digs, dating back to May 25th. But again, I've counseled since last pod, don't look past Minnesota United. This is not only a playoff game, but this might be an emotional game for the Galaxy as well, because last year Minnesota United knocked the Galaxy out of playoff contention in that 5-2 loss. I bring it up all the time. That's probably the saddest I've ever seen Greg Vanney in a post-match presser, but it's also the moment that I realized, man, this guy really, really cares. Guys, we've spoken about Minnesota's defensive record. Only 2 goals in the last 7 matches. What's been the difference? Like, why have they been able to lock in so hard on defense?
I think the back three with Boxall, Harvey, and Diaz has really grown together. Like, there was a rough period in the middle of the season. If you look at our record, where new guys were coming in, they were figuring things out. But those 3 have been solid. Like, they've got a great understanding of, when to go for the ball, when to stay in. The wing backs are getting up and back. I love a back 5. So I could talk about it all day, but I think there's just something in that mix we've got right now. And then if you got Dayne St. Clair and the form he's in behind it, not leaking too many.
Ananda's our tactics guy, really, but I find something interesting because, just in passing conversation when we've just been like waiting for press conferences or whatever, I've had opportunity to speak to Greg, and if you've noticed the way the Galaxy have played this year, they play a traditional back 4, but they've gotten Mickey Yamane really involved in the attack, getting into the midfield to support the midfield. And I've noticed, at least in the past couple of games, that as opposed to Mickey Yamane, who's an outside back, going in and joining the midfield, for Minnesota, it's Carlos Harvey that kind of pushes forward and gets into the midfield more, and that allows some of the wing play to flourish a little bit more. How important is former Galaxy player Carlos Harvey to you guys?
He right when he came in, we had some moments where like once he gets fit and he gets ready to go, he's going to be huge. This is what everybody was talking about, and we were just waiting to see it translate to the field. And in this last stretch run, he's got it in him to play a right back role. He's got that center mid role in him, but he's also, when we put him at that center back spot, he's picking those moments to come forward. I think against RSL, he had our most dangerous chance in the first game, making that run all the way up, getting a couple passes in, showing the feet of a midfielder from a defender.
Right.
And just, he's been huge so far, and we're hoping we can keep that going.
And I found that interesting, right? Because, like I said, for the Galaxy, it's Mickey Yamane. For Minnesota, it's Carlos Harvey. And yeah, Kyle, you're right. I mean, for the Galaxy, he played mostly midfield, so it's interesting when he's been mostly a center back for Minnesota. But you're right, he comes out of that back line and he advances the ball. And I mean, if you can have your center back advance the ball with the feet of a midfield, like to midfield, I mean, half your job is already done, right? That you mentioned that you really liked this back five. Well, this back five has led Minnesota to no losses in the last 7 matches. They are tied for the best road record in the West during the season. As I mentioned, they have more away points than home points this year. They've lost just once in 10 games. Across those 10 games, and this is one of the things that I'm expecting to see in this match. In those 10 games, Minnesota United has not had a 50% possession or more even once. So I'm expecting them to kind of cede the ball to the Galaxy a little bit, and kind of look for the Galaxy to make that mistake. Ananda, you said, wow. I'm going to double down on that one. They've had under 40% possession 3 times in those 10 matches. So that tells me that again, they're going to kind of cede that possession. Central midfielders, even to double up on that even more, 15% fewer touches than they did up to this point in the season. But all that means is that they're going to exploit the Galaxy's biggest weakness, which is themselves and the inability to, just not make silly mistakes. So, Kyle, is that the game plan? I mean, the league knows defense is kind of like the Achilles heel. Galaxy have gotten a lot better with it, but is that kind of the game plan? Look for a mistake and go ahead and exploit it? Yeah,
it's definitely, like I said earlier, that ability to be patient and look for those opportunities. I think they're pretty confident that something's going to open up, whether we're forcing it to or not. So it's just waiting for that opportunity and hoping that the defensive solidity that we've shown can hold against. I mean, you guys have 4 guys that scored upwards of 10 goals apiece. So like, you're going to have chances too. It's just going to be a matter of, can we weather the storm and then wait for that opening?
Ananda, Kyle just brought up patience again. Do you want to go on patience? Do you want to riff on patience now, or do you want to wait a little bit longer?
I'll save it because I forgot. I do have actually direct from the man himself a clip about patience. So I'm going to save it. But yeah, I think like Kyle says, I think patience, that makes a lot of sense for them. They're going to wait and sort of sit back and make us either wait for a mistake or make us a mistake, force that on us and hit us on the counter the other, because a guy like Kelvin Yeboah is an absolute threat on transition. And of course we know that historically that's been a weakness of the Galaxy. Although I will say this, and this is going to be a little wrinkle that I haven't seen a lot of, I would say, either coverage on both sides say about this, which is I think our transition defense has gotten a lot better throughout the year. And I think the addition of Emilio Garces has helped that tremendously. Emilio Garces has amazing recovery speed. And I think that's one of those things that we've seen it even the last, I would say, 3 or 4 weeks, Robert, of the season. I mean, he's mopped up a lot of little mistakes that we've made in the past. But again, that recovery speed, that strength, again, you can't teach athleticism, right? And he's got that in abundance. I think the other thing too is Edwin Cedillo has been tactically much, much better as the season's gone on in his position on protecting the back four. So I think those 2 little wrinkles, I think we've gotten better over time, and maybe the coverage around that, and maybe we're under indexing that a little bit. And I'm hoping that, the Galaxy prove me right this weekend.
Yeah, no, you're right. Not a lot of people have spoken enough about that, but the fact remains that it's still traditionally not what you would call like a championship winning transition defense, right? But Kyle also brought up that patience again, and if you're not going to touch on it, I will. It's vitally important for the Galaxy to stay patient here and not force things, right? Because Minnesota will try to bait them into making those passes, those thread needle passes into the final third, and try to get those passes in there. And if that happens and they lose the ball, they're automatically out of position and Minnesota's off to the races. Again, it's vitally important that the Galaxy don't get sucked into this trap, because Minnesota has gotten really good at limiting passes into their box. They've only allowed 7.59 passes into their final third per the last 90 minutes, per 90 minutes rather. That's sixth among all MLS teams. Even better in their most recent game against Real Salt Lake, they only allowed 3 passes into their own penalty area, their second best tally of the year. So that means they have these type of performances in them where they just have to be patient. If there's one wrinkle, and Galaxy fans chat, it may seem like to you I'm big upping Minnesota a lot. And this is not me big upping. This is me respecting the opponent, because they're playing good ball right now. And as much as the Galaxy's offense has been touted, we need to tout this Minnesota defense as well. But again, if there's one wrinkle to all this, is that they only scored 1 goal across both legs versus RSL. Kyle, is the focus going to be so much on defense that you have any worry at all for this offense? Do you think that the offensive players are going to expend so much energy trying to contribute to the overall defensive performance that they're not going to be at their best?
There's a feeling around the training ground that scoring won't be a problem. If you look back at the last couple games, obviously it's been a bit of a struggle, but I think the thought was almost that the way RSL plays was going to limit us anyways up front. And like you mentioned before, your defense isn't your strong suit per se. So the guys are definitely feeling pretty confident. Yeboah himself, he's a very confident guy, which I wish I had a little bit of that in myself when I was playing. But, they'll find ways to get forward quick on the counter. And with his quality, I feel pretty good that there's a chance they could score.
We heard from Greg today in training. Everyone is fit. Everyone is healthy. Of course, except for Martin Cáceres, who's been a long-term out. But what about for Minnesota? Are there any injury concerns? I know that there might be a couple players coming back from the international break.
Yeah, a couple of guys coming back from international break, maybe got a little beat up, but I think they'll be available, if not ready to start. I think no major health concerns.
Ananda, go ahead and take us through who you think the Galaxy will put out for their starting 11 in this semifinal on Sunday.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I have it flashed up on the screen there, guys, but I feel like this is going to be, at least on the Galaxy side, we're going to go with, this is our strongest 11 at the moment. This is the most in-form 11, and that includes, Emilio Garces in that center-back partnership next to Mario Yoshida. That includes Edwin Cerrillo, who, again, he is, I know I saw Scott French ask him a question. I think he's doing an article or a piece on him, right, Rob? So look out for that, guys. I mean, I've been touting Edwin Cerrillo all year. So you know my love for Edwin Cerrillo. He's been awesome. And like I said, he's gotten better and better as the season's gone on. And then, of course, the killer piece. I mean, and by the way, and I think this will be the sort of the underappreciated or sort of the X factor. And again, not a lot of coverage on this guy, but Decky, man, Dejan Joveljic. I mean, the guy scored that many goals for a reason. He's always the guy that's overlooked though in that front four because he's not part of the killer peas, right? He's the guy. He's the number 9. I mean, he is so vital to this team. Again, I always talk about him being that tip of the spear. I think this year more than any, and maybe this is me repeating myself again, but he's become a great all-around striker, and his interplay, his back to goal play, when he gets that tiki-taka and those 1-2s and those quick passing movements that open up a defense. He's been really good at that this year, man. And then his finishing, He's no longer a tap-in merchant. I mean, you saw that first goal against LAFC with that chop on his left foot, hitting it back with his right. I mean, beautiful stuff. So yeah, Decky, man, watch out for Decky for sure. What about on the Minnesota side, Kyle? Does that look like it's going to be your starting, or even the formation as well? Is that what you're expecting from Ramsey's team?
Yeah, that'll be real similar. With the only change, maybe Herrera and Lod a bit higher, but depending on what phase of the game we're in, they'll be right about like that.
Ananda, real quick question.
Yes, sir.
We know that Minnesota is a good defensive team. We've heard from Greg Vanney say that John Nelson is a very, very solid defensive player, but he gives you a different look offensively than Julian Aude would, right? Mm-hmm. So knowing that this Minnesota team is so good defensively, are you still going with John Nelson over Julian Aude to start?
I'm going with the informed players, man. He's been in form. You can't do that to him. He's been. I mean, again, the Nag boys call them, John.
I'm not doing anything. I don't pick the team.
Yeah, John the Rock Nelson, right? And he's been an absolute rock. I mean, apparently he can score bangers too, Rob, with his weak foot, by the way.
Hey.
So again, but he's just a smart player. He's that lunch pail guy. He's what have you always said on the show, Rob? If you're a defender and I don't really talk about you that much, that's a good thing, right? Because it's usually those guys that have the mistakes that sort of become the highlight reel mistakes at the end of the day. And that's what we kind of talk about as talking heads afterwards. So if you're a defender and you have a solid game and we don't talk about you that much, that's probably a good thing, right? So, and he's been that guy, fought mob stats, always in the 7 point. He's that guy. He'll give you a 7, an 8 out of 10 performance pretty much every game. Super, super solid. So yeah, I'm going with the informed team, man.
Gotcha. Kyle, I got to ask you, we saw this lineup here that Ananda flashed up as a 5-4-1. You mentioned earlier that the Loons like to get out in that 5-2-3. So when does it become a 5-2-3, and when is it a 5-4-1? Is it a 5-4-1 in defense and 5-2-3 in offense, or is it opposite? And how does it change?
It kind of depends when we win the ball, where we win it or where we lose it. But yeah, by and large, if we've got sustained possession, it turns into that 5-2-3 on the ball. And Rosales and Longwane are both getting up the field, so you could even call it a 3-4-3 at times. But yeah, then as we lose it, kind of fall back into mid block, go into the 5-4-1, and then as the fades back into the low block, stay in that a little bit.
Yeah. One tactical thing that'll be really interesting to watch, Kyle and Rob, is because what I've seen a lot of teams that do this successfully is they like to clog the midfield. I think about even Armis's team. I think about Vanni Sartini's team. They use a 3-back formation, but they like to clog numbers in the middle, right? So they're kind of, 3 or even 4-man midfields because we like to penetrate through the middle. I mean, we've got guys like Ricky Puig. Edwin Cedillo is a good ball progressor. Mark Delgado is a good ball progressor with his dribble, right? So it'll be interesting tactically. That's going to be one of the things I'm going to be watching is sort of how that Minnesota sort of team reacts to what the game state will be. If we're on the front foot, if we start the game hot and we're controlling that midfield, it'll be interesting to see if he pinches someone or, pushes someone in that midfield. That'll be really interesting to see, man. And then, of course, Greg talked about this a little bit too. Just when Minnesota drops back and also times when they actually trigger a press, that'll be interesting as well to see how the Galaxy sort of react to those situations.
Ananda, I've already told Kyle that you're the tactics and stats man here on the show. So
well, I don't know, man. You pulled out some good stats, really. I'm impressed. Those are some solid stats. Like, man,
I've been studying up for a couple of days.
Three passes in the penalty area. That's solid, man. And that was an eye opener for me for sure. Because if we can't get in the penalty box, like that's not a good omen for us.
Look, I told you when I learned how to read, it's over for you guys. And, yeah, and I mean,
it's ESL, man. It's English as a second language. I get it.
I'm learning how to sound it out, baby, and it's getting there, right? But no, I bring it up because obviously we're going to ask Kyle for a prediction at the end of this show. Yeah, that's right. We're gonna have a receipt. Kyle, we're gonna have a receipt. But before we get there, we always talk about how we want to have chat. We want to have anybody that watches the show be as informed as they can while they're making their decisions. So Ananda, in that vein, go ahead and bring up all these good numbers, all these good stats that will go ahead and tell us where this game will be won or lost.
Yeah, well, I kind of switched it up for this one because, you know, we always trying to look at
Dastardly.
regular season stats, and of course we're in the playoffs now. It feels like a new season. We're in a different competition, right? This is a cup competition, but I do want to bring up some interesting things that I think, you know, we have to note that I don't think we've talked about yet, so it'll be a good time to bring them up. And number one, I want to highlight. We've talked about one of the guys, but I actually want to highlight both of the keepers. Gentlemen, which is, of course, John McCarthy on our side and Dayne St. Clair, by the way, former Terp. Shout out Terps. So two very, very good keepers. This is from American. I got these stats from American Soccer Analysis. Of course, you see they're sort of the top keepers throughout the season. And I always pull up that, you know, post-shot XG number, Rob, goals minus expected goals, however you want to look at it. It basically tells us how many goals have they prevented. John McCarthy and Dayne St. Clair in the top, top 8 of keepers. So again, by the way, Christian Kalina, like amazing. If he does not get goalkeeper of the year, okay, that's right. That's right.
We spoke about it on this show.
I'm like, dude, like if he did not get that award, like insane, right? Because like his numbers are absolutely insane. But again, two really good keepers. But here's the one thing I want to hone on that I thought that was interesting, which is you see the number of saves. John McCarthy 125 versus Dayne St. Clair at 69. Granted, John McCarthy's played a few more games than Dayne St. Clair. You see the minutes there on the left. But I think this is a testament to Minnesota and just how well that front, you know, 6 or even 9, however you want to call it, that defense in front of that team, they prevent a lot of shots coming in, right? And you look at it from the Galaxy's perspective, though, John McCarthy's had to make 125 saves this year. Now, on one hand, you could say, hey, we've got a good shot stopper, right, Rob? But on the other hand, you say that front 6 for us, you know, with the DM, we've got to protect the defense, right? And we've got to stop those shots coming in. So it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. You know, are we going to, again, buckle up on transition defense and prevent those shots coming in? But we know that McCarthy's a good shot stopper. So when he is called upon, I think, you know, hopefully he's up to the task. He's been really good, really all season. The other thing that I want to bring up, guys, and so this is, I think this is one that we know, but I just want to bring it up, Rob, set pieces, right? I think when the game's tight in a playoff environment, I think this is one of the things that if I'm Eric Ramsey and his coaching staff, I'm going to be looking at this and say, hey, this is when we get corners, when we get dead ball situations, I think this is one of the areas where we can get a one-up on the Galaxy. You see there on the left, Minnesota's in the top 10 for regular season set piece goals. Galaxy in the top 5 for not defending set piece goals, which is not where we want to be, right? 15 set piece goals given up the season. So again, that's another one of those things where you look at these fine margins, especially in the playoffs, Rob, and this is one of those things that gets me a little worried. Now, granted, our set piece defense has been good as of late, but you know, old habits always rear its ugly head, I feel like, with the Galaxy sometimes. So we got to be careful, watch out. Remember, the last time we were in a cup competition, Rob, we gave up 2 set-piece goals against Seattle, right? And we do not want to repeat of that, again, in a cup competition. Go ahead. You going to say something?
Well, you mentioned that cup competition, 2 quick goals that ended up being 3 quick goals, but this is how this game is going to go, I think. I think that either the Galaxy are going to come out and get a couple of quick goals, or they're going to shoot themselves in the foot and leave themselves exposed, and Minnesota's probably going to get a goal or 2 really quick. Such are the margins in the playoffs, right? You were mentioning all these stats, right? And one that I didn't bring up to you, and you're going to be like, oh, this guy, he's trying to take my stat mantle, right?
Hey-yo.
But
Let's see it.
But across the season, the Galaxy were sitting around 89.4% pass completion rate in their final third, right? Playing out of defense, right? In that series against Colorado, they raised that to 91%, which doesn't seem like it's a lot, right? It's only 1.6% of a raise, right? But think about the 2 or 3 passes that you're not misplacing in the back, right? That could potentially turn into goals, right? So, I mean, we're talking about this Galaxy defense, and you mentioned that this transition defense has gotten a lot better, but not even speaking about that transition defense, but this team likes to play out of the back. And if you're going to play out of the back, and we've spoken about the burden of possession, right? Having that burden of having the rock with you all the time, right? And part of that means taking care of the ball, right? And so I think that they're to be commended for raising their game a little bit, raising the standard, at least in the first round. Again, 1.6% isn't a lot, but it could be the difference between the next round or not. I mean, the margins are that tight at the moment.
Yeah, totally.
So we have the Danger Men in Los Angeles, Kyle. We've already spoken about them. We know they're the Killer Peas. Ricky Puig, 13 consecutive games played at home where he scored 10 goals, 11 assists. Gabriel Peck has 11 and 12 at home. And then the guy we haven't spoken a lot about, Dejan Joveljic, 11 and 3 at home. We already know what they can do. Maybe who is the guy that isn't so spoken about on the Galaxy that you're worried about? Or is it the obvious? Is it one of these guys that we've spoken about?
I'm probably the biggest Ricky Puig fan in the state of Minnesota, so I'm most worried about him. But I'm also worried about, if I had to mention somebody else, Joseph Paintsill is a fantastic player. Honestly, it's hard for me to look past Ricky. Every time I watch, he's just a bundle of energy. He's everywhere. I love this guy.
Yeah, well, one matchup that I think will be really interesting, Kyle, and I wonder, interested to hear your thoughts on this, is Rosales against Gabriel Peck. I mean, those are two live wires, man. That's a lot of speed and physicality on both sides. It's going to be interesting to see, who wins out that battle. Is Peck going to be pushing Rosales back, or is it going to be the other way around? I think that's going to be real interesting because, again, they play on the same side. Gabby Peck plays on our right side, which is the Rosales, the left side. I will say Rosales is one of those guys I've seen throughout our two games, or two legs, however you want to call it, this season. Man, he's impressed me a lot, especially that game at home. He was very impressive going up and down that left side, and he's got a cannon of a shot on him as well from deep. So yeah, that's a guy I've looked at. I've sort of earmarked Rob for sure.
I was looking at Minnesota players today as well. In the past couple of days, like I mentioned, I've been doing some studying. Came across this bright writer named Kyle Hayward that put out a couple of articles, and I wanted to ask you about a couple of things that you wrote. Right, we've obviously spoken about Danger Men for the Galaxy. I want to talk to you about some Danger Men for Minnesota. Obviously, the front line: Kevin Yeboah, Tani Oluwase, Timu. I love Timu, by the way. He's one of those guys that, like, I don't care if he's 50. If the Galaxy ever have a chance, just honorary contract, please.
Pookie party.
Right? Oh, I love it, man.
Pookie party. Yeah.
I love the vibes, man. Bongilangwe, we've already mentioned, and Robin lied, but you said about Yeboah, speedy, strong. Oh no, wait a second. Nope. Let me find myself here. About Tani, you said vertical runs and tendency to play direct enables him to stretch games and open things up with his impressive finishing ability, adding some power to his pace. Timu, fantastic positioning and quality on the ball. And then, yes, Yeboah, speedy, strong, can play both sides of the ball. Who, in your perspective, is the man that the Galaxy need to be most worried about? I mean, you have a couple of dangerous players here, but come game day, come Sunday, who's the guy that they need to be worried about? And then maybe who's your X factor, the guy who's not so sung hero, but needs to play well for this team to have success?
Yeah, I'd say from the jump, the person to be most worried about for Galaxy fans would be Yeboah. I mean, he's hungry to get up there. He's pressing the back line well. He's always making runs. He drifts out wide. He uses the space well, and he can finish very well. But for an X factor, I'd say I like around the 60-minute mark, you're going to know whether or not you're going to see Sangbin and Tanny come in probably. And the combination of Tanny's runs stretching the back line and Sangbin, his pace it's got to be among the best in the league, fastest in the league. Between the two of them, if they come on when the game's tight, I'd be pretty scared if I was a Galaxy fan.
So you're saying if it's 1-1 in the 80th, and that's the scenario that you think the odds are pretty good for Minnesota?
I think if we got those two guys on the field, they're going to be feeling pretty good.
Alrighty. So we told you we're going to hit some predictions, but before we get there, we always ask people one question, and we'll ask it of ourselves as well.
And chat.
Yeah. Yes, obviously. We always ask chat. We always ask chat everything. Chat, you know what it is. For the Galaxy to win this match, they have to fill in the blank. Hit us up. For the Galaxy to win this match, they have to ... fill in the blank. And for Kyle, same holds true. But for Minnesota to win this match, they have to ...
They have to find a way to keep Ricky quiet.
Yeah,
I like it.
I think simple as that.
It's going to be interesting to see Ricky go against this midfield, right? That Dodson. Dodson's a hustler, man. I mean, he's. I don't know if 2 men is going to be enough to hold Ricky down, man. People have tried that 4-man midfield, that 3-man midfield, and he's found space. Yes,
it's going to be interesting too how physical they are with him. Like, is there going to be a lot of stoppages? Is there going to be a lot of start-stops? One of the things that kind of gets to Ricky a bit is him not getting the whistle, and the opposing team getting really physical with him, which is kind of always seems to be the game plan. Like, I know LAFC does it. A lot of teams, we've seen Austin even do it this year. That got to be a really crazy game as well. So that'll be interesting too. It's like, how physical are you going to be with him? Are you going to be absolutely in your face and looking for the referee's whistle? That's going to be interesting to watch as well as the game goes on.
Oh, blood. I don't know if you remember this, but last year at the Digs, Boxall went in on a challenge on Ricky, and it was.
I think I remember.
Let's just say it was enthusiastic. It was an enthusiastic challenge, right? How tall is this man Boxall? Like 6'4" or something like that. He's a big guy, right?
Yeah.
He's a big guy. Ricky is not a big guy, and so it was hilarious because Ricky gets up like to go after him and like gets in his face and stuff like that. And it reminded me of that that meme where Miazga is this like doing this to Yanez, right? Because like exactly right because. Like, but Ricky was about it. He was about that life. He was ready to squabble and throw hands, man. So you're right, Anand. I mean, this is going to be a chance for Ricky to show that he can stay within the system, stay within his cool. Again, be patient. I know you're just itching to speak about that patient thing, so I keep on bringing it up to remind you. But yeah, keeping Ricky quiet is a big priority for the Loons. Unfortunately, we've had the debate on this pod all year. Whose team is this actually? Is it Gabriel Pecky's or is it Ricky Puig's? These are the days where these are the matches where we get to see, who will step up if it's not Ricky Puig or if it is Ricky Puig. Ananda, same question for you. For the Galaxy to win this match, they have to
be patient. But there is again, it's a different kind of patience, and I'm actually going to pull up a really, really good quote that Greg talked about today, because there's a lot of layers to this too, so I want to unpack this, but let me just play the clip.
Is this from my question?
Tricks, if you will, inside of the game or challenges is to recognize when moments are more of possession and that we are patient, that we are holding our spots in some ways, or in sitting in good spots, or taking up or occupying or moving through good spots at the right times, and that we choose the right moments to go from what is a controlled possession to now trying to unbalance and destabilize and build speed and really break them down. Because if you start forcing those moments, it plays into the hand of a team that is good at defending and has numbers behind the ball and wants to crowd up spaces and is looking to play in the transition, So again, being patient when we are in possessions is going to be important. They have the capacity to extend their pressure as well. So it's also recognizing when they are coming at us a little more aggressively and they're extending themselves defensively, that we're in the right spots for the solutions in those moments. But a big chunk of the game is just going to be emotional management as well as ball management, and making sure that we're doing the things that can protect ourselves but also can create opportunities on the other side. And they're a very stingy defensive team. So, we've got to make sure if it doesn't happen early in the game, it's okay. We stay patient and we stay disciplined to our tasks. And if it takes us 89.5 minutes to score the first goal, then that's fine. That's what it takes. If it takes us 119 minutes to score the first goal to win the game, then that's fine too. We've got to be really disciplined and patient over the course of the game.
Again, couldn't have said it better myself. A lot to unpack, right? But I think a couple of things that I do want to unpack and kind of take note, which is he talks about choosing the right moments from controlled possession to unbalancing and destabilizing the team. And this is a good point for shameless plug real quick. If you guys watch the Los Gatácticos video, the peak Vanny Ball video that I did with Alex, you'll see just a pinpoint example of what that looks like in a game. There's one of the goals from Colorado. We actually lost the ball, but we won it. And this is one of those underrated things about Vanny Ball, which is the counter press. If we do lose the ball, how quickly are we to get that ball back a la Barcelona in the next 3 to 5 seconds? And then, of course, our passing sequence is not forcing anything, shifting the defense from side to side and creating those gaps so that we can shoot them with the dribble or the correct pass or movement. Remember, Greg always talks about time advantages as well. So check out that video, guys. But yeah, that's an interesting thing that I think you need to call out. He also talked about taking up and moving through good spots. That goes with organization and transition defense, especially, right? And where the fullbacks and defensive midfielders are in those things. And the last thing that I think is really key, Robert, emotional management as well as ball management. So remember earlier on in the season, this is another thing that we talked about in that Los Gatácticos videos, which is the Galaxy were rushing in a lot of their sequences, right? There's a lot of periods of hero ball, we like to call it. Ricky was probably the main culprit of this. Moving through certain periods of the game and forcing the game when it wasn't there for them, trying to play a little bit too much hero ball versus playing within the system and playing a controlled possession style of play. So again, a lot to unpack with what Greg said, but that all goes up to this idea of patience. But again, our idea of patience is very, very different to Minnesota, but it achieves, I think both sides, it achieves at what our strengths are on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, for me, I'm glad you finally got to talk about it. I mean, because mine kind of rolls into yours. It's for the Galaxy to win this match, they have to take care of the ball. That goes into the patience thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they don't lose the ball, Minnesota's going to have a damn hard time countering them in transition. So if you take care of the ball, it's going to be really, really hard to get scored on, right? So just execute. This team all year has been around 55-60% possession. We've already seen that Minnesota totally fine seeding that possession. I'm expecting this one maybe to be like around the 60-40 range. But again, the burden of possession is such that if you mess up, you're going to get countered, right? So, Ananda, we're almost to prediction time with Kyle. So go ahead and give us some betting odds. I know you and Dr. Raquinho have been working on these for a long time today.
Oh man. So betting odds. So Galaxy -149 at a 60% odds for winning this game per Las Vegas and all the fine, beautiful people there. Minnesota +400 at 20%. So Rob, as the road team, of course, 20% is pretty low. Again, we've seen usually that's just a sign that the bookies. That's just a sign that the bookies are not giving. But you know what? No surprise, right? The Galaxy we've not lost all season at home. Minnesota here are the clear underdogs. Yes, if you look into it a little bit more, I think there are some things that the Minnesota's strengths are sort of our weaknesses. But again, if you look at this on paper, I mean, this is a game that the Galaxy should win, which means that this could be that dreaded two-letter phrase that we do not want to bring up.
Don't say that.
It rhymes with rap lame, right? I don't want to bring up that phrase, but this is not a trap. We just got to do what we got to do. So, but yeah, those are the betting odds.
Ooh, yeah, no, I don't like those numbers. I'm surprised it's that skewed in favor of the Galaxy. This is this has big money payout written all over it for
again. We're not your financial advisors, but if you want to put a little dough on Minnesota, those those are the odds there.
Probably a good time to do it. Kyle, we've reached the point of the show where we're gonna put you on the spot. We're gonna have that receipt for later, and say, well, this is what you said, man. So chat, just like Kyle's gonna have to do in a second. Go ahead and start dropping your predictions in there for Sunday's game. This heavily awaited semifinal against Minnesota. I know that I went first last time, so Renato's going to go first from us. So, Kyle, lay it on us, man. What do you think it's going to be?
All right, I don't think the Galaxy are going to lose in regulation, so you can keep that streak going. But I'm feeling a 1-1 draw, go into the shootout, and I'm going to back Dayne St. Clair to put us on top.
You know, I'm going to play my hand and say that that's pretty much what I'm thinking too. If the Galaxy can nick this one or win this one in regulation, then all things good, right? I think if it comes to a shootout, I'll leave it there. I'm going to let Anand go first because I went first last time.
No, I agree. I'll continue your sentence then. If we go to a shootout, we are not winning the shootout. I will put that bold statement out there. Galaxy have not had a good penalty record this year, Rob. That's number one. Number two, again, Dayne St. Clair has had good penalty practice. John McCarthy has not, right? Like, we're not saying that John McCarthy is a bad keeper by any means, but again, we just look at what history is giving us, and history has not been kind to us in the penalty spot. Even if you look historically, Robert, I recall, I think, was it 2009 that we lost in a shootout, something like that. So, yeah. So again, history hasn't been kind to us as well. I'm going to echo Stephen Ma here. He says, make Mitrovic a penalty shootout specialist. I don't trust McCarthy PK shootouts. Again, I just hope it doesn't get to that point. So I don't want to even have to think about that scenario. But guys, before I make my prediction, just like one little thing that I thought that was interesting, Rob, I thought about because the big thing for me coming into this game is this whole rest versus rust thing, right? That's like the number one issue that's on my head. Again, both teams have experienced this, but if you think about the last time, when's the last time the Galaxy had a long break, Rob? It was, by the way, it was also in a cup competition, right? They couldn't win their third game in a row. Then that was against Seattle. Of course, we lost. We crashed out of that tournament. So we're hoping for a better outcome this time as the third game in a row in a cup competition. But they had 16 days from losing that Seattle game. And then 16 days after that, they won at home against Atlanta. It was a good bounce back performance. It was a good professional performance. Remember, this was the debut of Marco Reus. It was 0-0 heading to about the 62nd minute. Marco Reus gets in the game and completely flips the game on its head, right? So I think history has shown us that we do, prepare fairly well, even with a long layoff. And I expect the Galaxy to do the same. But against this Minnesota team, man, it's going to be tough. It's going to be dicey. It's not, forget Colorado. It's going to be nowhere near that. It's going to be a very, very close game, very edgy.
Right.
But I do see the Galaxy edging this out, probably 2-1. The first half is going to be tough. It's going to be a chess battle. I think the first sort of 10, 20 minutes, we are going to shake off that rust, but we are going to be rusty, right? So the question is, can Minnesota capitalize in those moments? I don't know. I mean, we may even be 0-1 down at halftime. That could be the case. But I think in the second half, I think we'll find a way. I think we just have too much attacking power for this team. And again, we haven't even talked about this, Rob, but we've got weapons like Diego Fagundes, Marco Reus, Gaston Bruggen when you need to shut down a game or when you need a ball over the top to unlock a defense, right? Maybe, shift Paintsel to striker. We have a lot of options, I think, off the bench. And I think we've talked about the depth and quality of this team all year, Rob, and I think we may have to count upon that this time around. And like I said, I think we're just going to narrowly edge it out 2-1. If it goes to PKs, forget it, bro. Forget it. Just forget it.
Yeah, I think 2-0 if it's in regulation, Galaxy, and then same thing, PKs, Minnesota ekes it out. I did ask Greg about that concept, of being, he mentioned, whether it's 89 minutes or 119 minutes in, we're going to keep looking for the goal and be patient for the goal. And I asked him, how important is it to have a man like Marco Reus come off the bench in those late moments, right? Yeah, and I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, but I think that is why a lot of pundits might be giving this one to the Galaxy, at least on paper, because you have your starting 11, and then you can being on Marco Reus or Diego Fagundes or Gaston Brugman or those guys. So who's that guy for Minnesota? Late moments, 85th minute, 1-1. Minnesota's going to try to nick this in regulation. Who's it going to be?
At the beginning of the year, we called that Tanny time. So we're banking on Tanny Aloisier is going to be our guy there. But Pookie's got a knack for scoring against you guys, so
Yes,
I wouldn't count him out either.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah, and like I said, I do really enjoy that man. Just not when he scores against the Galaxy. He is scored quite a couple of goals against the Galaxy. In that 5-2, I believe he scored a brace. I believe he scored in the first match against the Galaxy this year. If I remember that goal correctly, it was a transition goal in which everybody just said, like, here, take the space. Yep. We're going to drop off you. And then he just let it rip, right? Yeah. Galaxy got to watch out for that, guys. We're going to wrap it up here, but we want to thank Kyle for coming on. Please, one more time, Kyle, let folks know where they can find you online.
Yeah, find me on Substack, Kyle Hayward, or Twitter at KJ_Hayward. And as always, visit the MNUFC website to check out a couple articles.
Will you be in Los Angeles with us on Sunday?
I won't be. No, I will not.
Alrighty, well, we'll go ahead and shoot you a message from boots on the ground, and we'll let you know how it's going out there. But of course, you'll most likely be just glued to the TV watching this one after 22 days off for Minnesota. Guys, we want to thank Kyle for coming on. Open invitation, Kyle. Whenever Minnesota and the Galaxy lock horns, find yourself here. We'd be happy to have you. One another real CS says thank you, Kyle. And speaking of chat, we do have a couple of predictions in here. The one real CEO says Galaxy win 2-0. Me and her are thinking alike. GCam says 3-0 Galaxy. Ooh. And he says we are at home. They don't possess the ball.
Confident bunch. Clean sheets as well, Rob. That's surprising.
Yeah. I mean,
confident bunch.
For a defense that hasn't been getting any love, that's a couple of clean sheets. So, Ananda, anything else to add before we get on out of here?
Well, I think I'm going to let you. There's a couple of obviously just reminders, right, for the G's to get out there early because there's a lot going on pre-match, right, Rob?
Yeah, guys. It's Los Angeles. Even in the suburbs, there's traffic, right? So, just get out there early. Get out there around 1. Hang out with your Galaxy community, have fun, eat the barbecue, tailgate. This one is going to see a lot of action. So, as well as the first 20,000 fans get a playoff towel. I did mention the DJ set by Dylan Francis, and then I know I'm going to get there early so I can try to get to the LA Galaxy team store and try to get the restock on the FU and the Sworn 5 merch that's gotten restocked. And also, again, this is kind of out of my tax bracket, but the LA Galaxy Foundation is auctioning off player decorated cleats, so go ahead and get involved with that. That's your chance to give back to the community as well. No matter what happens on Sunday, our promise to you is that we'll be back here with you on Monday, November 25th for our reaction pod. Depending on what happens, guys, it could be a very different kind of pod. It could be like the ultimate sad fool hours and Galaxy group therapy, or it could be the ultimate celebration in which we're saying that, hey, we're celebrating this team for getting to the Western Conference final. We will bring you everything you need to know on Monday, November 25th. If the Galaxy advance, of course, their next game would be Saturday, November 30th or Sunday, December 1st. Of course, if Minnesota advances, that's the same day for them as well. Preview pod on Wednesday, November 27th, if the Galaxy does, in fact, advance. We hope that is the way of things, and we hope that for Kyle, we hope that there's a some kind of world where everybody's happy. We know that's not sport, but we do wish you guys luck. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on. We do appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully we see you again soon.
Yeah, it's great. A lot of fun, man.
Hey, thank you, man. Kyle, chat, go ahead and give Kyle one of these. I know that a couple people were in chat were saying thank you. GCam says, I love Kyle. Wow. I mean, got a fan already, Kyle. Hell yeah.
How about
yeah, man. GCam, don't make me get jealous, bro. Anyway, guys, we will have a reaction for you on Monday, November 25th. Preview pod if the Galaxy make it. to the next round on Wednesday, November 27th, because on Thursday, it is Thanksgiving Day. Guys, thank you again for being with us. If you found your way here, it's because you did so on youtube.com/@lacunagalaxiana. We thank you so much for doing so. And, geez, I guess we'll see you on Sunday, right, Ananda?
Yes, sir. Let's get it.
If you guys see us out there in the wild, come and get one of these. We would love to meet you and give you some slaps. And, man, one thing left to say. Jesus. Do you